whose oil is well nigh luminous, though fire scarce touched it. Light upon light. God doth guide whom he will to his light. God doth set forth parables for people, and God doth know all things. Well, this is one of the most beautiful verses in the whole Quran, and you often see it in Islamic houses, written out and in a picture on the wall. It's very similar to the Christian teachings of God as light. It's there in the Vedic traditions of God as light, and it's there in the intellectual traditions of philosophy that God is, the divine light that lives inside us all. And in my commentary, I've gone into that. This is where the work of intellectuals comes in. We have to shed light on the problems of the world and try and resolve them through appealing to that common intellectual light that we all share. I also talk in my commentary on Einstein's discovery about the nature of light. Einstein's PhD was on the photon, which he discovered, which light is made of. As I'm sitting here in the light, I'm being bombarded by photons, which he really was the first to explain the mathematics of. And he realized the importance of the speed of light, 186,000 miles a second. So I always think of that. A second, is that. It's the time it takes me to drop my hand down. Well, during that time, a particle of light, if I could bend it, has gone round the Earth, 9 times. I mean, what? It's been down to my friend in New Zealand, all the way back up, and it's done that 9 times as I do that, That's pretty fast. That's what light is. Well, we need to think that fast to solve the problems of the world. Thinkers, intellectuals, sages, savants, seers, Sufis, the people of the truth have to come out of the woodwork now and work that fast. We can do it, but we can only do it by breaking the Omerta, the dark pact of liars and silence holders who are trying to take over the world, and they have their corrupt pyramid of power doing nefarious acts. We know 9/11 is one of them. There are others. A continual load, and the more of us that come out of the woodwork shine the light of intellect, reason, and divine light on these catastrophes, the more the truth can come out. So, and with those thoughts, I'm going to finish with one of my own poems, because, as you know, I also write poetry. And let's see what the gods want me to read today. Now, well, this is a fun poem I wrote when I went to Troy, which was an amazing blessing, really. I was invited to Istanbul a few years ago to give a talk to a Sufi gathering, and it was a great, honour, and I asked for a little bit of time before I flew back to visit some sacred sites to me. One of them was Troy, because I'm a lover of Homer. I've read Homer's Odyssey and Iliad, and they're masterpieces ever since I first read them in my 20s, and I've always resonated with Homer. I regard them as peace poems, and they're at the root of European literature. I'm a lover of all European literature. That's why I'm a poet, right? And so going to Troy, it was like a religious experience for me. It was like going to a sacred place. And I had researched it a lot. I'd studied and actually read a biography of Schliemann, the archaeologist who discovered it, who was a friend of Gladstone, who was the cleverest prime minister Britain ever had. I wish to God he'd come back now and help save my country. He was a scholar, a proper sage, and a friend of Schliemann. So Anyway, here's the poem. I was sitting on the mound at Troy, and this is what came out. It's called Notes for a Series of Future Events. A peace treaty between Europe and Asia, finally signed on the mound of Troy, overlooking the place where the Aegean flows into the Dardanelles and on through to Byzantium. A ceremony to be attended by the spiritual elders of all the nations of Europe and Asia, each dressed resplendent in all their national colours, their trinkets and jewels, their diadems and robes, their crowns and their hoarded wisdom, age unto age assembled. Each of us lives too short to master it all. Each of us only a few waves in the crossing. We dart from womb to grass like fireflies. We become dust too early, and a few scattered words such as these. But if we come together, dancing as one, as an offering of peace to the gods and goddesses of all, for all the holy spaces, we can make amends. Perhaps we can appease them, those three who sit in judgment upon us, the foremothers, Hera, the ancient of power, the wielder of might and strength, she who gives us the sceptre from a torch, flickering only. Aphrodite, whose beauty holds us all in spellbound splendour, literally by her nonchalant nuances, her deadly serious laughter. And Athena, the grey-eyed one. To her we owe everything else, all our crafts and skills and sciences, and our magi-technologists asking questions of the particles jumping about beneath Switzerland, cerning away, and our interneting and our note-walling trained intelligence agencies, our cyber warriors, our modern-day Achilles and Hectors, battling it out with codes and secret clicks in the growing dark, with green cursors flashing on and off. If we offered again our peace to all three equally, if we laid down our symbolical weapons, if we buried those old hatchets, if we dissected our painted memories and gave them the oxygen of forgiveness, if we say enough to all our warriors who lie scattered on the fields of Kurukshetra or Gallipoli, the muddy fields of the Somme, the mounds of Passchendaele, the mountains of Grozny, the ashes of Treblinka, the tell of Megiddo, the fields of Troy. Perhaps the goddesses, all three, will make peace if we do. Have we not suffered enough by now? This, the cats of Istanbul told me to relate, as in a dream, and I have been faithful. Listen to my words. Come to Troy's hill, you goddess people, the few faithful of all lands, a handful each, from all Europe and all of Asia, and the Americas too. We will have stories to tell when we meet there. We will have such stories to sing when we go on from there. Such stories we will have to relate when we return from there. If we return from there.